Hi, this is Jeff from Site Subscribe. I'm going to show you how to create an event on the IRF website. Now, in this case, I think the events are probably the hardest thing to be able to add as far as content onto the website. A little more regarding how many steps to go through. So we'll try to walk through it in kind of bite-sized chunks, and I'll probably break up this video into several different videos so you can review just the parts that you need to understand how to add an event. So here's where the events show up. Here's one location. They show up on the events page as upcoming events. So we're going to be adding one of these events in here, and they show up in the upcoming events widgets. They show up on the next event widget on the home page. So if we open up another tab with just, we haven't used the resolved URL yet, so go to just the home page of this kind of temporary URL. You can see the next event widget is going to pull the most recent, I should say, it's going to pull the next event by the date, not the most recent one that you added to the events type, but it's going to pull in by the next event by the date of the event. And then also the upcoming events, certified training and webinars are all coming from the events type. I'll call it post type, using the the events plugins that we're using, and they're all populating here based on different widgets that are pulling in by category of upcoming events, certified training, and webinars. And to make things a little more complicated, we have archived webinars that are recorded sessions that are available for sale under the webinars page, but those aren't actually events. Those are more videos available to view at a later time. So we're just talking about the webinars that are in the upcoming state, meaning they're going to populate as a current event. When a event is past due, then automatically you can look at that event still, and it's going to show on the event detail that the event is past. So if we were to pull up the event calendar using this little widget over here, the items that are populated in here are also all coming from the events that we're going to be adding. So let's look at just the detail for a second. We'll open this up in another tab with that particular event detail. So you have a lot of components on the page. You have a featured image, you have a title, you have an excerpt here, you have some event specific information, all different fields that we're going to populate. You have a description, which is going to vary event by event, just kind of different content areas. And most of the other stuff is going to be populated automatically, like the calendars and all that stuff. We may have specific sponsors of an event. In that case, there's a whole section that we're going to have to go over on adding a sponsor, and that will show up automatically on the sidebar via a widget once we add the content for a sponsored for a particular event. Let's maybe look at this event down here and click into that one. Let's see, close that page. We'll see if this one, yeah, this event has a sponsor already. So that would be a good one to look at as an example to duplicate, to go ahead and create an event that's going to look with a similar kind of information as this one. And this one, you'll notice, also has some tabbed content where the other one wasn't tabbed. I think it was a webinar. So you want to grab the kind of event that is going to be similar to the one that you're going to be adding, whether it's a webinar, certified training, or just a standard event. Grab one that looks just like it and then kind of copy and paste a lot of the similar information. And this one also has tickets for making items, this event, available for sale. at different levels. And so we're going to also look at that in probably a separate video where you can actually purchase those tickets for that. So there's a lot of components on the page. It's very complicated, a lot of stuff going on. So let's dig into that, and I'm going to just close, well, I'll leave that open. So we'll talk about how to add the content. So let's find which type do we want to add. I guess we'll have to walk through each type. So let's start with a standard event, and we'll look at the roadside and work zone safety as an example, this one here. And we're going to try to emulate this and create another one just like it. There's a couple ways you could do that. You can actually clone events just like you can clone pages and posts, because we have a plugin that's enabled that's allowing us to duplicate and clone these things. Or you can kind of start fresh and copy and paste stuff in. Cloning works sometimes. The parts where it doesn't work is sometimes it's going to grab stuff in the database and not let you change it. That I ran into that in one case where the location was keeping the old location from the other event, and I had to kind of go and manually copy and paste into a new event kind of the hard way, rather than cloning and then just changing out a couple things, because some of the information didn't change as I would expect it to. So we'll try that, maybe cloning, and see if it works. And since I'm making a dummy event, it probably won't matter anyway in this case. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom of the screen. There's a little edit link. So that's one way to get in quickly to find the dashboard to edit this particular. I did a command click to open that in a new tab. I want to look at the event inside the dashboard area. And we're going to see all the detail that makes up that event. And while we're opening that page, I'm going to bounce back over to the regular dashboard here. You can also go to events by going to the dashboard, go to the events tab, and then just browse through the events by clicking on events. You can add a new event and look at all this other detail, but we're going to click on events. And so this is another way to get into that same event, but in this case we're going to have to search for it by title. Make sure what we want to do is grab that event that we already know has like a sponsor, and we're going to kind of copy it, duplicate it, clone it, whatever you want to call that, and we're going to, in this case there's a link down here under the publish section. We're going to copy it to a new draft. So that's, I think, the easiest way to create another event is find one just like it, copy it, and then change out the stuff that you need to change. So if we go back to the event list here, you can search on that event by the title and hover over it and do new draft. We'll do the same thing. I think clone is very similar, but maybe that's where it kept the stuff in the database I didn't want. So I think new draft is probably a better way to go. And just make sure you have, you're highlighting the correct one. And one way you can tell whether it's the type that you want to duplicate or not, you can look at the event category that it's assigned to, whether it's a webinar, a standard event, certified training. In some cases it's both kinds, more than one kind. And we want to make sure that in this case we also have sponsors involved. So that's why I selected this particular event. So let's go ahead and click copy to a new draft. Copy to a new draft, and we're going to get the editor here is going to update with the same title to another version, a new draft of the same version. And in this case, the draft won't be saved or published yet. It's definitely running a little slow on this particular server, so we're just going to have to wait. It's taking a little while. Taking a long while. I'm going to close that page. So this is what it's going to look like, and we're going to just put some dummy information in there. It's taken a very long while. But it beats retyping everything, so. While that's loading, see, I can show you another item here. I have another page open that is the website instruction page that's available to website admins. If we scroll down, we can find the menu item here in this in these tabs. Find the events tab and open that up. I'm going to try to walk through these instructions step by step so that we don't miss anything. So I'm going to keep that handy. So the first instruction is to add a new event or duplicate an existing event. And we did the save as new draft. The next step would be to populate the title. So we're still waiting for this thing to kind of open into a new draft over here. I'm not sure why it's taken so long. It's really taken a while. Okay, that new draft finally resolved to let us go ahead and do some editing. So you notice that in this draft, the title is still the same. Even the page slug here is still the same, which we're going to need to change. And you'll notice, though, that we know this is a new draft because now it says status draft. This particular version of that event has not been published yet. So one of the first things you want to do is just make some quick changes. We're just going to edit this, make sure we don't lose this and don't override anything that's confusing to keep the same title and all that. So until I have a title in mind that I'm going to change this to, I'm just going to update this, and I can just resave it real quick, just as kind of a safety precaution. You don't have to do that, but in case I get timed out on this session of editing inside of the dashboard, I just want to go ahead and do that real quick, and hopefully it won't take forever to save. Just saving as a draft. Okay, it's coming back. Alright, so now we have updated to a new event. We've saved it as a new draft, and we have a new title, temporary title. So let's just call this, I'm just going to call this sample event with sponsors. I'm going to call it a standard sample standard event with sponsors. Now when you're creating your actual event, obviously you're going to have some real information, but I'm just making it up as I go. So I'm going to copy that title, and I'm going to edit this page slug here. I'm going to highlight it and paste it in as is, and just hit OK. And WordPress will scrub that title by replacing the spaces with hyphens, making it all lowercase. You could, if you wanted to, you could remove some of the small words like and, the, with, that kind of stuff, or just leave it. So it's not really going to matter too much either way. It's more about, that's more for just, for SEO. Those words won't matter. But it might get harder to find and locate these if you start changing too many words. So I just tend to leave them for the most part. So let's go to our instructions and go to, it keeps losing our space here, our spot. Let's go to the next thing. If cloned, you know what I'm going to do so I don't lose my spot. I'm going to open it in another browser session on another browser, and it may not let me in if I'm not already logged in. So we'll see. I may have to log in. But that's okay. Okay, now I've logged in on a different browser entirely, so I'm using Chrome just for the website instructions, so that when I'm on the particular tab for this instruction on events, I don't lose my spot. Every time I move away from that tab, it kind of refreshes and goes back to the top. So I'm going to leave that open. We're on item step number 4. Assign a category of events, in this case for a normal event, and we can ignore the rest of that because we're only doing a normal event in this case. So let's go back to Firefox here. We're going to look for categories, event categories on the right side, and we're going to make this just a standard event in this case instead of a certified training as well. So we can do that, and that really defines what you select here, defines how this particular event shows up in what sections of the website, especially on the home page and on the webinars page, etc. So we've done step 4. Let's go to step 5. Populate the fields of dates, venue, organizer. So pretty much all the stuff that's involved for the kind of specific fields of the events plugin here that we need to populate. So let's just pick some arbitrary dates here. Let's pick November 6th. And let's say no recurrence. And let's pick a location, a venue. Let's just pick let's use a new venue in this case. So let's just call it test venue. And we'll give it an address of, just give it a city. I have New York, United States. We can select the state now. This is all just arbitrary for this one. I don't know the postal code, but that stuff's necessary so that we have an accurate Google map. So if you put in an actual address, you'll have a more specific location on the Google map. Otherwise, it'll be general. And for phone, I'm just going to leave that blank, but you should be populating that if you can with the venue phone number or the contact person's phone number. So we're going to leave this checked, Google Map link, so that way when we're in the actual event here, that means that the Google Map will be displaying here, and that the Google Map link will be displaying here to go to a larger map. So we're going to leave those checked off. In this case, the event organizer, you can pick an existing one or add a new one. So that's pretty standard. Right now, these were kind of test fields for customized locations, so we're going to ignore those. Let's go to the other step and see if we've got all that. We've got the organizer email, phone. We're going to leave that stuff. Okay, so we're on step 6. Populate the body text and assign any H2 tags as needed. So the body text is kind of down here. Scroll down. In this case, we have a lot of tabs already established in the body. Some of the events are going to have just a bunch of content. Some will have images. Some will have tabs. And there's other trainings that describe how to add tabs. In this case, I'm just going to leave this section because we don't really need to spend time going over this. But you could make sure that you have an updated map URL. So I think that actually might be, yeah, that's step 15, so we're going to skip that for now. Let's go on here to, that's just standard, we're talking about just standard descriptive text here, so I guess we can go over that really quick. We can edit this particular text block. I think we've already gone over this in other videos, but I'll just do a really quick refresh. You can insert any kind of text you want. And we're going to go ahead and highlight that, give it a H2 in this case. And I'm even going to throw a red color onto it, just so we know this is a test. And, you know, while we're at it, it's always good every once in a while just to go ahead and save or publish, because you could get timed out. This particular process of adding an event can take a while, so it's good to go ahead and publish every now and then to kind of keep it saved, so we don't lose too much time if we get timed out. So we've saved that as a draft. I think the next step was to edit the excerpt. So we've edited some content. You can add more content. We'll go over these other tabs in a bit. So let's go back up here to the excerpt area, and we're just going to say, again, this is a sample event. And so we've saved the excerpt. Let's go to the next step, 8, assign a featured image. And that image will be used as a thumbnail later on for the program download, which is in this tab here. So in this case, the featured image, let's just go ahead and pick one. We're going to remove the existing one and add a new one just for our test purposes. So the featured image is over here in the right sidebar. I'm going to remove that image, and I'm going to give it a second. There we go. I'm going to set the featured image here to whatever we're going to use for this event. Hopefully you've uploaded something recently that you're going to use for that. You set featured image, and that will go ahead and populate over here in a second. There it is. Now let's go to the next step. Make sure the layout is set to events with unique sponsors sidebar. So that's the Catalyst page, post page options layout here. So events with unique sponsors, which is what we want. So that's why it's best to go ahead and just save a new draft. We don't have to go reset most of these settings. We can leave them. Like, we don't have to create the tabs, they're already there, for instance. Let's check the next item here. Number 10. Step number 10. Enter Visual Composer mode, add a row, add a tab element. So if we hadn't already done so by adding these tabs, since we cloned or saved a new draft, we have these tabs here already, but let's say we want to add a new tab section. We can, well, we might be in the classic editor already, so let's just show you. If we're already in that mode, it's going to look more like this with just the standard text editor here. So we want to make sure we enter Visual Composer mode. We should already be there. Scroll down and to the Visual Composer section. We already have tabs, but let's say we want to add another row of tabs for some reason. We can click on Add Element, and we have to find the tabs element. Click on that. It's going to add it below here in a second. There it is. We have a new tab section. So we can make sure we're on which tab we want to edit. Click the little edit icon there. We're going to first give it a name to this tab. And we're just going to call it Sample Tab 1. And then we can add another text box inside of that tab. So that's where you'll be adding your content. So these tabs, the tab structure is already there for you because we duplicated, and there you go, you can save your content there. So the tab's already there because we did a draft. That's the easiest way. If you want to create it from scratch, you can. And that's how you would do it. Add a new tab, edit the tab, add the content. So let's close. Actually, we're just going to get rid of this tab section. We don't need it. So we have the tabs in place. So let's go to the next. Make sure that the tab titles are description, map, travel. So we already have all that exactly as needed. So let's go to step 12. Populate the tab content. Make sure any external links open in new window. So I don't think we have too many links here to worry about. So Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, we're going to add tickets. This part is a little tricky. So let's take a deep breath and step into it. We're going to add tickets with pricing information at different levels, like our IRF Gold member, non-members, etc. And we're going to make the events for sale with the add to cart button and pricing information. So that's a little tricky. It just says add tickets. It doesn't say how to do it, but I'm going to show you right now how we're going to do that. So in this case, we don't have any tickets already for this particular event, I don't believe, but we're going to add, actually we might, but I don't think we do. Let me scroll up here. I'm not seeing any tickets. So let's go to add a new ticket. Just got to find the right widget. These widgets might be in different locations, or they might be collapsed. These widgets are, positionable based on user setting. So if I drag and drop them, the next time I come into an event, they'll be in those same locations for me, but not for you. So it depends on whatever the default setting is, and then if you've moved them around, it'll save it for you. And you can also go to screen options just to make sure that the ones that you need, like tickets, is visible by making sure that's checked off here. And you can actually hide anything that you don't need. For instance, I'm going to turn off social broadcasting here and custom fields, and then close that. That just kind of cleans up, gets rid of some of the widgets here from displaying. So let's add a new ticket. We're going to add a new ticket. That's a section here. That's kind of an extension to the event plugin. So we have a new ticket here. We're going to sell using WooCommerce, which is the only option there is, but it has to be checked off. Let's just call this ticket IRF member, and you could give it, some other abbreviation, like if you want to give it like a SKU number to keep them straight, because there'll be a lot of tickets with the same name if we don't do that. And maybe the SKU is like SSES, because it makes sense to tie it in with the title somehow. And otherwise you're going to end up with a ton of ticket names that are going to be the same. It'll be really hard to tell what's what. It's not really critical, but you could even put it in brackets like that if you wanted to. You could give it a description optionally, and in this case we're going to leave the price 0 for free tickets, because IRF members are complimentary. We could put a start sale and end sale date, but we don't need that in most cases. The end sale will automatically default to the last day of the event. So tickets will be available throughout the event unless you say, when the gates open for the event, I don't want any more tickets available for sale. You could set that date and time here. We don't have to have a stock here, but if you had a limited amount of tickets, you could put that in there. And we're going to save the ticket. I think that's all we need for this. Save the ticket. Now here we have a ticket created under the tickets widget inside of the event. Let's create, we can edit that ticket and we can add a new one. Let's add one or two more tickets. I think typically you're going to have 3 tickets. You're going to have a student ticket. And this is going to be, you know what, I think the sequence doesn't really matter, but let's be consistent with how we did it before. We're going to say non-member will be another, and we're going to give it the same, I guess we should do non-member SSES. And we can leave all that the same, and the price, let's just make it $1,900 arbitrarily in this case, and that's all we need. Gonna add that ticket, and we're gonna add one more for student. There might be additional ticket prices and such. Add them as needed. I'm going to call this one student. And we're going to make this $19. I have no idea if that's accurate for these, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to call it student. SSES. And just keep them straight a little bit that way. And let's say we forgot to put the, we didn't put the M in front of the other stock number, the SKU number, the SKU for the first one. So let's go and edit that. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and save draft. So we don't want to have to re-enter information here. And while that's saving, I'm going to just bounce over here and look at after tickets. We're going to be adding emails. Okay, we'll come back to that. Alright, that's saved. So what I wanted to do before we move on to the next step is I want to, in this case, I'm going to go to IRF member and I want to edit this in WooCommerce. And maybe before I do that, I'm going to edit the SKU number. So let's edit the SKU. So it's going to open that ticket up here. Let's edit the SKU. And we're going to add an M for member, SSES. And we're going to save it like that. So obviously you can edit the price or what have you. Now let's just view this and edit it in WooCommerce. I'm going to open it in a new tab by command clicking it. And what that does is the events are an extension to the WooCommerce plugin, which is giving us the ability to sell them with a shopping cart and a bunch of other features. And while that's, there we go, it's opening up. So it actually created, when we created that event, it creates a product. It gives it a ticket category, which we're currently not using, but we're just going to leave it like that and assign it to events. And I don't think we're using that. I'm not so sure we're using that either right now, but we'll find out. I think that the events, we might need to go ahead and click that so that they show up on the catalog page. Otherwise, that's really the only thing that's being used for, is visibility on the catalog page. All the other information, you can leave it blank because it's pretty much already pulling that in from the event we created. So this is more or less, it pulled in the SKU number, it pulled in the price and all that kind of stuff. So pretty much you can leave all this stuff, and unless you have a reason to edit it, just leave it. And in this case, the only thing I changed was the product category, and it is already published because when it created, the event was created, it published it as a WooCommerce product item. So we're going to update that. I'm going to bounce back over here, and let's go to our next section. So you don't really, I think there's nothing you really need to edit. You don't have to go into WooCommerce and edit anything. It's just showing you how you can do that if you need to adjust something. If you need to adjust the price, do it inside the event. It'll just be simpler for you. Do all your editing here. So we're going to go over to the next item here, step number 14, add an email into the custom field for email routing. And this makes sure that when someone submits a web form on the event, that the right person gets notified. So email routes, the email will route to the proper person. Otherwise, the administrator of the website will get all these emails and it won't go necessarily to the event organizer. So that's what this is for. So we're going to have to hit enter new and add a custom field to the custom field section, which I already hid. So I need to unhide on the screen options, make sure that the custom fields section is visible. Then I'm going to browse down to custom fields, which is towards the bottom, expand that. So you can browse fields, but mostly the one we want is usually not there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit enter new. And according to the next step here, step 14, sub item number 2, add send to email as a custom field name. Send to email. So we're giving this custom field a name, and we're going to add the event organizer's email address as a custom field value. So in this case, it would be my email at gmail.com or something. This would be the event organizer's email address, if you know what it is. And actually we already have one here. You'll notice it's already set right here. Sent to email is already set up here, so I can cancel that. I was just showing you how to do it. It's actually already in there. You can edit that if you need to for this particular event, or just add a if it's not already there, enter new, just like we just did. But it's already there. We're good to go. So that step is done. That just makes sure that this individual gets notification of any events, purchases, and submissions for questions. So here we go. We're going to add the event map. So we need to go to Google Maps and grab a link that we're going to insert into the tab. We kind of bounced around a little bit, but the tab over here called Map. We're going to edit this particular map element. That, in this case, it's part of the Visual Composer plugin that's given us this little map element. There's a lot of ways we could do this. This is just how we happen to be doing it. And what we're looking for, you know how to grab a map URL from Google Maps, so I'm not going to bother with that. But we would go to Google Maps, do a search on the location. Actually, all right, I guess we could, New York City, New York. Paste that link in here. The only thing you need to be concerned with is the map height. It needs to be 250. And you can leave everything else default and just hit save. So I didn't change it, so I'm not going to mess with it. But that's very simple. Do a Google Map link with the the address to the venue, and paste it in there. That's all you need to do. So everything else should already be there for you. Step 16, program download. Again, if you're cloning or creating a new draft, most of this information's here. We're just going to tweak it. So the program download, we insert a thumbnail image. So we need to go to the program tab. We're going to edit this. There should just be some minor edits here to get the program that you need. And while that's loading, we're going to insert a thumbnail image. We're going to link to the image to the PDF that we'll need to make sure is already uploaded. This is taking a long time. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we can go into the text mode here and look at the code. And so what we want to do is just edit the PDF file that's in the media upload section. So if you want, you can go to another tab, open up the media. You can add a PDF file, or in this case, we're just going to look for a PDF that we can substitute here as a test. You can add a PDF, and the key is you just need to grab the name and the location of, close that tab, the location, the source location of that PDF file. It should be a relative URL like wp-content/uploads and then the name of the file. So all you really need to do is replace the name of the file. So if you want to go find a PDF file that has the right file that's going to be for your event, the program for your event, click on edit. We just need to make sure we grab the proper file name. for the PDF. If we weren't using an existing event and cloning it, we would add media item and then make sure it's linking to the right PDF file. So we are now on the edit media for that PDF file. We're going to come over to the URL and just kind of drag over till you see the title and highlight that and copy it to the clipboard. Everything to the right of the URL where it ends there with the uploads, because all we need to do is paste in the new file name. And again, the same thing for the image. The image is in the same location, so we don't have to change the whole URL. We just need to grab the media for the, there's a couple ways you could do that. You can come down here and insert the media that we want to use for the thumbnail, and just insert it that way. It's taking a long time to list our media. Okay. This is taking a while. Let me pause here. So we have our media list here. We can click on the particular thumbnail we want to use. There's two things we can do. We can come down and we can look at the link to media file, and it's going to show us the media URL. And again, go to the end and just grab that. Everything after the uploads, and just copy that to the clipboard. If you want, you can also insert it into your content. Sometimes that doesn't work. It takes a little while for it to come in, and sometimes it doesn't come in at all. You may have to go to a test page, insert that image into the test page, and then grab that image and that code for the image and paste it in here. Sometimes it just doesn't want to paste in. So in this case, all we need to do anyway is replace the image name. The other thing you need to do is replace the download ID, and the download is not always used over here. The download is inside of the program tab. That's this button here. So to have a download button, you have to have previously uploaded a PDF file as a download, and I believe there is a section right here in the instructions on how to do that. If you want to have a download button, you have to go and do all that. So essentially, once you add a download, you're going to grab that ID and replace it inside of this, so that when you click the download button, it downloads the right file. So we're going to save that. We'll need to go add a download, which we haven't done. So we're going a little bit out of sequence here, but I think you'll get the idea that once we add a download, you're going to update that ID. Let's again save this draft, and let's go back to our instructions. Paste the download shortcode. So basically, since we're replacing information, we don't have to go and do all this stuff, pasting the download shortcode and all that. If we want the download button, create a new download. So let's go and walk through creating a download. So we actually go to the download link here on the main dashboard menu, and we're going to click on add new, and I'm going to do it in a new tab so we don't lose our spot. We're going to give it a title, test download. We're going to grab a file from either upload an existing PDF file, or I'm going to select an existing PDF file. In order to do that, you have to know the file URL, which I did not grab. So this is a JPEG. No, this is the PDF. So again, go to your media file, your media library, grab the URL. I'm going to do Control A to grab that whole URL, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And that's if you want to use an existing file. There we go. And if you want to add a new file, you know how to just upload a file. So the main thing is just we're adding a title and a URL to a PDF file from the library, or adding it to the library. I always like my publish widget at the top, so I'm going to grab that and move it up there. Now we're just going to go ahead and publish that download called test download. The only reason we're doing this is so we have the mechanism of this program download button. And it's kind of a nice thing to have, so people know, hey, if I click the image, I'll download, but they know I need to click this button to download the PDF. So it's important to have that. So the file does not exist. It doesn't like our URL. Let's upload a new file then. I'm not sure why it didn't like that, but let's just grab a PDF file. It doesn't matter what it is. And grab this one. Upload file. Oops, I already did that. So it grabbed. Not sure if I did that. Sorry, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to grab this one, hit open. Okay, there we go. Got it. Now let's update that. The other thing this download plugin does is it gives us a count of how many people have clicked on the download links. So it's useful for that. Okay, it's still saying the specified file does not exist. So I think that has something to do with we're using a temporary URL here, and it's kind of messing us up. But the idea is that that's how it should work. And we would go to the all downloads link here to make sure we get the right ID for this download. So we can click on the all downloads link. We see our test download, and right here it shows you the download shortcode you can paste in. All we need is the link, the ID 7291. Go back to our, close that one, go back to the program tab and edit. We would change that to 7291 in the little text box. Save that. So now the download button, will correlate to the right file for the PDF and the thumbnail, and everything's hunky-dory there. So let's look at the next step. Publish the event. Okay, so I just saved it as a draft. We can actually publish it now. So I guess we're done with this section, so we're going to go ahead and hit publish to make it go live. Now we're going to add the event to the event locations map. So this is so that on the event locations page, by the way, if I refresh this page, we should have our event should show up already right here. Let's just do that. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the home page. Yep, right here, sample event. And it pulled it in by the date, not the most recent, but by the date of the event. So it threw that in there. So that worked well. But we now need to add this event to the event location map. So let's go look at that page. I'm going to open that in another tab just so you see what we're talking about. The event location map is a kind of just a map of all the different locations in the world where the events are being held. You can hover over those sections and get the details of the next event in that country. So, and they're color coded by the event types. Let's go. Anyway, I don't need to keep that tab open. Let's go back to the instructions. add an event to the event location map. So we're going to add a country code, and there's a link here that goes to Wikipedia, which tells you what country codes are what. We're going to add an event title. So, okay, one thing I didn't explain there very well is you need to go to the world maps. We're going to go to manage maps. I'm going to open that. I guess I didn't need a new tab for that either. Oh, because I'm in Chrome, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to edit the event location map. And we're going to add another event to this event location map. So here, scroll down a little bit. Here's where you add the region code. I'm just going to make it easy and add it to the US. You may have to look up the countries. Excuse me, with the different instructions that we have here. You can look at the country codes that are available on Wikipedia. We want to grab the title from the event title, and we're going to add that to here, the title. The tooltip is, let's see, the date location as the tooltip. So the location in this case was New York, New York. So I'm just going to add New York, New York. That's all I need. Enter the URL as the action. So the URL would be the event. Make sure I'm back on the event here. The event, if we want to view the event, I'm going to open that in a new tab. That's the URL that we need. Or you can grab this right here. That's actually what you need. That is the URL to the event. So I'm going to grab it there, or you can view the event and grab the URL from that tab there. You don't even have to wait for it to open. Come back in here. We're going to paste that in. Make sure there's no spaces at the end or at the beginning. Actually, I do want the HTTP in front of that. So that means when someone clicks on the map, come back to the map. When someone clicks on the map, it's going to go to that event. And that's what that URL designates. Okay. Then the next instruction I'm reading here. Be sure to update the map after editing the event. Now the map colors are specific for the event being normal. Is this particular hex color? It's red with that hex color for certified events, and that correlates to the legend here, so that the color event codes are right. So we're going to make sure it's not for the country, but it's for the event type. So we're going to make sure that the event type reflects and it is the right hex color for the standard event in this case. And we're going to add that event, and it just moved it down to here. US event, standard. You can edit that event. You can add more events to the map. So you can see you can add quite a few events to the map. And once we're done with adding events to the map, we need to update the map for those all to save. Make sure I hit that right. And that you can see down here that in the status bar in the lower left that it was updating. And you can also see up here that it's kind of updating and saving. And once that's done, let's go to the next section. We've edited the colors for the event. We added the event, and that should show up on the map. So if that's done uploading, we can come over to here, can refresh the event map, event location map, and we should see, when that's done refreshing, we should see the event. It's still refreshing though, and I'm not sure if we're going to see it because I think it's only going to show the next event. So we'll see what shows up here. It's just taking a while. Okay, so the event location map is refreshed. Now notice the country code has changed from the red color to the blue color, and the next event in the sequence by date would be the events. I didn't put the date in, so it's not showing the date when I hover over. It should show the date like that. So I somehow didn't put in the date in the map. So we need to go back to the map and put in, we're going to edit that map node, and we're going to put in the format we have, just like these others, is the date, and then I'm just going to copy that, paste it in here, and I'm going to put, I think it was November 6th, 2013. And then update the map again, so that make sure that we have the date on the tooltip when we hover over. We're going to have the date and the location. Okay, so that's how you would do that, and if we click into that, it's going to go to the event. I guess we can do that, but it might take some time. So while that's loading, and this is actually still updating, so let's go to the next section. The next instruction would be, we are on the event program download. No, actually we're adding event sponsors. I think these are out of sequence. We're going to add an event sponsor. So add a sponsor, add a new sponsor, or assign an existing sponsor to a category. So what we need to do is go to, I'm kind of done with the map, so we're going to go now to the next section is the sponsors over here. So we can view sponsors by clicking on that. We're going to see a list of sponsors. Clicking on the sponsor here or here will show us the sponsor list. So we can either edit an existing sponsor. Let's do that. We'll edit one and then we'll add one. So we're going to add it, and the way these show up is by category. That defines how they show up in the website, under which events and such. So we're going to add a new sponsor or assign existing sponsor. We're going to create a new category, a new sponsor category, using the page slug from the event URL. So if we go to our event URL, we're going to grab just the page slug here, and we're going to create a category once this is done loading that is related to that event. Okay, so we have, I'm going to move these widgets out of the way, put that at the top. Okay, so we have the categories, and we want to add this sponsor with their logo, which is already there. I'm not going to edit that right now, but I'm going to add it to an existing, I'm going to add it to a new category. I'm going to create a category with this particular page slug. Add that, and it should end up here. It's just taking a while. There it is. It just added it up here. So you can, add a new category, and if for some reason the sponsor is no longer sponsoring one of these events, you can, uncheck it. And then we're going to update that. I don't know if that actually updated, so I'm going to update. There we go. Update that. So it's going to bring this logo, the sponsor's logo, into a sidebar based on the fact that we assigned it to this category. And then we're going to add a new sponsor. Let's go back to our instructions while that's loading. We could assign that category, that new category, to a parent, but we don't need to. In this case, we're going to add a sponsor, a new sponsor. So let's go over here. That would be, for instance, if you wanted to make a gold level sponsor, you can add a category under gold. We don't need to do, we don't need to do that right now. So we're going to add a new sponsor just to show you how to do that. It's basically just inserting a logo and assigning it to a category. And the logo would be just adding a media image that's been sized somewhat appropriately. So we need to find an image that's going to be a reasonable size for a sponsor. Let's give it a name. We're going to call this test sponsor, and we're going to basically add it as what they're calling a featured image, but usually featured images are over on the right side. In this case, it's right here. We can upload a new file. Let's do that. I'm going to grab a new file. Just going to grab something more arbitrary from, you know what, I'm going to grab one just off my desktop, something not to be confused with a real sponsor. So I'm going to go ahead and drag a new image in there as a sponsor. Once that's done uploading, I'm going to set the featured image. If your sponsor's already loaded as a logo, then you don't need to do this part. It'll save a little bit of time. Alright, that's uploaded. We're going to set the featured image. We're not at this point doing URLs, but if we wanted to, we could just as well as put in a URL to link to. We could even put in a description. And give it a category. So let's put it into gold. Why not? Let's see, assign the new category to the events that it belongs to. So, you know, if that sponsor was for, I think we might need to add them also to our other category that we called sample standard event. So let's add them to that category as well. For some reason my publish, there we go, my update button wasn't available. So we're going to add them to this as well. So they're going to show up in different sections of the website depending on what we select. This is kind of our sponsors page, the gold, silver, platinum. That's really the sponsors page, and then this particular category is the widget specific to this event. So that really depends on how we want to lay out our sponsors. So kind of what we're defining is the sponsors would show up over here in the right sidebar. So let's keep following the instructions while that's saving. We need to add a sponsors widget to the events with unique sponsors sidebar. So let's go to the widgets. Just pull it up in one of our mini browsers. We're going to go to Appearance, Widgets. there's going to be a widget area that already exists called Events with Unique Sponsors sidebar. We're going to expand that. Now there's already a bunch of sponsors in there, but what we're going to do is add one specific to this event. So what we need to do is kind of browse down this whole section over here until we see the sponsors widget. Grab it and drag it over to the bottom of the sponsors section over here, and let's go to the next item here. Add a sponsored widget to the Events with Unique Sponsors sidebar widget area. We're going to make sure that the sponsors widget is above the Become a Sponsor widget and below the shopping cart widget. So we need to, let's collapse this and make sure it's in the right location. So above the, let's get that right, above the Become a Sponsor widget and below the shopping cart. So right now I don't even see the shopping cart here, so we just need to make sure it's above this Become a Sponsor. And that affects the location on the sidebar. So we could put it way up here if we wanted to. Doesn't really matter as long as it's above this other widget, because this is the only two widgets that are going to show on this event over here. So this widget is the one we're dragging up. We're dragging the particular sponsor we just created above this widget, so it's going to be in this space up here once we get this part done. So we've got that up there. Now we need to configure the sponsors widget, making sure all the proper categories are there. So let's go back to the widgets tab. So we go to this sponsor up here, which we didn't do anything. You know what? It's good to give it a title. We can just call it, I'm going to paste in the slug that we just used for that event, and I'm going to scroll down and suppress the title so it doesn't show up. Because right now I don't think we're going to need a title, so I'm going to do that, just hoping that we're not going to need to use a real title. Let's see what else we got here. Add a sponsors widget. We configuring the widget, step 5 here. We need to select. We are adding a sponsors as title. Okay. So we actually, I kind of forgot. So we actually need to use sponsors, or we could change that later to event sponsor or whatever. But right now the kind of the nomenclature is sponsors, so they're all consistent. We're going to leave this stuff blank. The category, this is the important part. We're going to select on this drop down the category of the event that we just created. It's in this list because it was based on when we created a sponsor, we created a category specific to that event, and there it is. We're going to go ahead and activate the URL, open in a new window. In most cases it's going to be inactive for now, but I'm going to open that one up in a new window. Let's see if there are any other. I think this is normal stuff. We can just leave everything else and just hit save. And while saving, we're going to read the rest of these instructions, make sure we didn't miss anything. Configured the widget with a category, the sponsor as title, select the category for the event. That's what we already did. Under the widget visibility, I didn't do that. Under widget visibility, select show on single post. Right here, widget visibility, show on single post, and then enter the event slug. Again, it's good. I always keep that in the clipboard for a long time. I'm gonna put the event slug right there. So that's what's gonna define what event this widget with this sponsor by that category is gonna show up. In the class section, put sponsors widget. So we could copy and paste it because I'm pretty safe. I'm pretty sure we're not going to need that slug anymore. Right here in the class, put sponsors widget. That helps define the styling for the widget in the sidebar. Now we can resave it. Now we should be able to go, we're actually done with adding an event, we should be able to go in. As soon as that's done saving, we can come back to the event itself that we had published. And I'm going to refresh this page, and we should see our sponsor show up in the sidebar. And there it is. Now you can set the order inside the widget that defines how those sponsors are listed. And that's how you add sponsors, and that's how you determine what sponsors show up on what events. You notice the Become a Sponsor element is still there. It's just below the sponsors we just added. And so we've now fully published this event. Let's just kind of do a browse through it and just make sure that you have all the right content in the right places. Everything looks pretty good. We've got the Google map in here. We've got a venue created, kind of a test venue in this case. We have the email for the event organizer with the phone number. Pretty much everything in there. The date. Everything's in there. Now we scroll down. We didn't edit any of this travel info. Notice we have placeholder text inside of this travel and hotel info. So we could either remove that tab or add some more information in this particular tab inside the content area. We have our description content. We have our map content, which I didn't update to reflect the same map link. We should just paste that in down there. I didn't do that. I kind of shortcutted that part. So you need to update the map in two places. Up there in the event content, which is actually just going to pull in by the venue date. It's actually in, again, second place in this map here, which I didn't paste in the proper map link. But that's okay, because we're just doing a training here. The program information should have the right thumbnail. If you want, you click on it, make sure you get the right download. And also click on that download PDF to make sure you get the right download. This is kind of a default tab that's in there with a form. As long as you're kind of cloning and duplicating existing events, that will be there for you. You won't have to change that. We added the email routing of the organizer email address so that when this form gets submitted, it'll go to that individual automatically. We have our event tickets. They're event tickets based on the IRF member with complimentary tickets. We have the non-member with the price there, and the student price for this. So everything is there as it should be, and that event will automatically populate in the proper widgets and homepage as needed. And so that really completes the event training or tutorial. It's pretty long. If we need to, we could break this up into different videos, but that's how you add an event and populate all the particular components of the event. Alright, that's it for now. Again, Jeff at Subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.